Here's the truth. You do the work, you care for patients, you fight through schedules, documentation, and the chaos of healthcare. So why shouldn't you get paid on time? That's where Athelis RCM comes in. It's billing, but smarter, AI-powered, fully automated, and it integrates with your existing EMR. It handles everything from claims to denials and revenue reports. It's like hiring an entire billing department without hiring an entire billing department. And providers are raving about how much time they get back. Not to mention 15 to 20% boost in collections, not too shabby. So yeah, you can have fewer headaches and more money. Just book a demo at athelis.com. That's ATHELAS.com and see what your billing could look like when AI has your back.
This is for people who are PT leaders and owners who are feeling pressure from not getting reimbursed enough, who are just like getting so frustrated in their business because they don't have the flexibility to put the time and attention on recruiting. If you want the tips and tricks that are going to accelerate you, I was at Alex Hormozi's thing last weekend. Like that's literally, This is how you do it. And here's what's powerful. You're going to become friends with all of the CEOs of all these companies. We're going to talk. We're going to help you wherever we can. You might decide some of those services are for you. The relationship is what matters most.
Will Humphreys is back. Will, if I tried to give you a hype intro, I don't know that I would ever be able to. There's very few people I say have more energy than me. Will Humphreys is one of them.
I don't know if I have your energy, but I try to. I love your energy, man. I think when we got together, it was just like we started vibing in such a way the walls were shaking. We're like, let's go. Let's do this thing.
So I saw you at PPS. Yeah, that was not that long ago, but still, it was still a few months ago. Like, what is up? And I feel every time I talk to you, you're not changing the color on something. You're like, and I'm over and doing this giantly different thing now. Like, What possibly are you doing now?
So here's the thing. I've been building companies since I sold my practice in 2018. I sold my PT practice, had 5 locations, exited. I have been on a mission to find ways to do one thing, Jimmy, free you up. I want PT, OT, SLP owners to be free because they are so compressed with responsibilities and not just owners, leaders, anyone who's like, man, I am drowning in it. Even if you're not like considering yourself a leader, if you are a PT and you're passionate or an OT and you're super committed, yeah, man, you're who I want to help. So I started a medical billing company that you heard about. I've built that up. I have someone else running it. I spend maybe a couple hours a year on that.
Smart.
It was, you know what? I built here was my concept, Jimmy. I read a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. And it was all about like anything we do in life is about building around people versus ideas. So my old biller who used to work for me, who merged 26 locations in Arizona, became available. And I said, hey, let's do a business. You do medical billing. It's not the thing I want to do forever, but it'll get me started in this B2B physical therapy space. And she's like, let's go. That was 5 years ago. Wow. I spend very little time in it, and it continues to grow as it does a great job. Now, what that's turned into is my current company. And Jimmy, I am obsessed about this thing. This isn't, I've cleared the field in a sense because although I still do coaching privately for certain groups, my passion is in virtual assistants to help free people up. And here's my vision. I want to bring 4,444 families out of poverty from the Philippines as they free up physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech entrepreneurs. I'm loving it.
I'm going to pause and let that sink in because I love how you started with that. Number one, you set it up with the book, right? People, right? You started with people.
Who, not how. Who,
not how.
Who's going to solve this, not how.
But you're saying this is the who and here's the how. So like this could have been an episode on virtual assistants, but Will, of course, comes at it from a different way, which is like all those pain points you have and there's 2 options. You could go to a Facebook, a physical therapy Facebook group and bitch about it, which is always an option, and people always take that option.
What most people do, for sure.
And I'm sure you feel good when you hit enter and everybody, 12 people like your post.
Yeah.
or you can try to solve the problem.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing because here's the deal. I'm not like here to promote that, even though I did, because I'm just passionate. You want to know what's in my heart? That's what's in my heart. But not everybody is meant to have virtual assistants. But what everyone is meant to do is to finally establish boundaries. There's this thing in psychology, Jimmy, that I read and it blew my freaking mind. And I wanted to tell the entire industry. It's that there's this diagnosable mindset called the healer mindset, which of course most healthcare providers fall into. And it's characterized by human beings who are very caring, that want to be healers for others, who on the extreme side can't establish boundaries for themselves. They are always putting themselves last. They are the victim mindset people as well. It's like, well, no one works harder than me. And by the way, Jimmy, I could have had this diagnosis tattooed on my chest. Like that's who I am, pleaser, all these different things. But when you establish boundaries and we work through who, not how, I have been very gifted, not me gifted, but like blessed with people who have stepped into my life, who have given me this rare opportunity to find balance. And I am all about that for PT, OT, SLPs, because like there's no better human beings on the planet, in my opinion, and they need boundaries. They need space, but they need the right who's. They need coaches. They need all those things. Some need VAs, virtual assistants, and everyone needs a Jimmy McKay. We need these who's. Yeah, you're not going to just resist that. But like we need these who's to get the knowledge that knowledge is power, break us free and help us like take charge of a life in a way that we never even dreamed possible if we're just willing to let go and do it.
Well, we talked about this, of course, before we hit record, which is like, you need, and you actually added to it. I always say you need wow people and how people. Like Jimmy can come in with a crazy idea and then he leaves and everybody in the room goes, how the hell are we going to do that? I'm like, I need a how person. Like,
yeah, right.
But you also added a third person, which is like, you have people with idea people, wow people, how people are the doers. And then you have thinkers, which are important too. The problem that you and I both, I think, agree with is if we move at the speed of thinkers, we don't get done. Howard Hughes wasn't starting his wacky airplane company waiting for thinkers, right? Steve Jobs was like, thinkers are fired. Like I want do people and wow people and everybody else needs to get out.
Exactly. And what's cool to me is that they have actually decoded this. Patrick Lencioni is the guru of business books. He wrote the 5 Dysfunctions of the Team. He is one of the world's most successful coaches of all time. He wrote a book in a concept called the 6 Working Geniuses.
Oh, somebody told me about this last year.
You have to get into this because there's a lot of personality tests. There's Myers-Briggs. There's all these things. This isn't that, but it is what he identified is that there are 6 types of talents in a business. In order for a company to thrive, for any organization to thrive, there are different people. So what you called a wow person would be his ideator, someone who, and galvanizer. You and I are both ideator galvanizers. We come up with constant ideas and we can inspire people to them. Like that's our gift. Now, hell on earth for me is getting the job done, called tenacity. Believe it or not, Jimmy, there are people who are super talented at tenacity. They just want to be told not told what to do, but they want to be said, hey, listen, here's the vision.
Hit that target.
Get us there. And they're like, heck yeah. And they're the ones who will overcome mountains to get it done.
So what are the first 2? Galvanizers, ideators.
So yeah, let me go through the concept really quick because all of you guys listening, this is so important. Stop whatever you're doing and pay close attention. This will maximize your leadership, your business. Even if you're an employee of a company and you're just like, why does this pertain to me?
Figure out who you are and who the other people are.
Yeah, because every painful part of a company is missing one of these components. There are 6. The first is called the wanderer. This is the person who, and by the way, these aren't just random terms, guys. This has been highly researched and proven with tens of thousands of companies over the last 30 years. So go get the book, easy read. You can listen to the book in 3 hours on Audible. So the concept is simple and the test is like $10. So the wanderer is the person who goes out and just wonders why everything is the way that it is. Why do we have to go upstairs? Couldn't we do something else? They just wonder, they challenge the status quo. Their whole existence comes across a little bit. I have a son who's a wanderer as his top genius. And as a teenager, I just thought he was rebellious. Why do we have to go to church? Why do we have to do this? Why do I have to go to school? He was just wondering. He wasn't trying to push against me.
Yeah, it wasn't this.
No, he was just curious about it. See, that bleeds into the next genius. This is the ideator. This is the brilliant person who can think of millions of ideas. That's me and you. We can go on a whiteboard for hours and go, oh,
love whiteboards.
Oh my gosh, I'm in love with my whiteboard. It's like a weird relationship. So I quite literally, like you and I, when we have a wanderer go, unless we're a green wanderer ourselves, I'll explain that in a second. But like if a wanderer goes, why do we have to use stairs? You and I go, well, what if we catapulted each other up the stairs? What if we created an escalator? We are inventors.
No joke. I bought a house a year and a half ago, and I have a pool in the backyard. And my dad was a fireman. I was like, how cool would it be to have a fire pole to get down?
Yes.
And my friends were like, and I was like, but I mean, come on. I know the insurance probably has an issue, but how cool?
Yeah. And what's so funny about us is that half of our ideas are so brilliant and half of them are crap.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And we don't know the difference unless we work with the next person, which is called, it's a discerner. The discerner has a natural gift of quality. It's not something that is learned. My wife is a discerner.
Taste.
When she would walk into a room, my father-in-law told me this before I married her. He said, when she was a little girl, I played this game at the mall where we would walk her into a store and I'd say, what's the nicest thing here? And she'd walk around, whether it was, a store that sold china or art or furniture. And she'd say, that's the nicest thing. And he said, every single time it was the most expensive thing in the store.
She could smell it.
So I've been very blessed because when I partner with a partner in one of my businesses, I don't have any more. I'm done. Virtual Rockstar is where I'm here to stay. But when I was growing these concepts to find myself, I found a who that had a special talent, but then I didn't know I was doing this until I took the 6 Working Geniuses, but every one of my partners is a discerner. They come to me for ideas and they'll tell me those 3 suck, that's the one. And then the discerner takes it to the next person who's the galvanizer. The galvanizer, once the idea, that's you and me again.
Yeah, let's go.
Because everyone has 2 geniuses. This has been, everyone has 2 greens, 2 yellows, and 2 reds. Let me explain that really quick. The 2 greens are our natural abilities that feed our soul that we could do all day long. Yellow, we're capable and able to do it, but the only danger, and it doesn't drain our soul, but it doesn't feed it. And that's the danger, is that we want to spend time in our green because that's when we're the most useful. Now, then there's the red. The red drains our souls. And they've been challenged by experts in the 6 Working Geniuses. Like, why don't people have 3? Doesn't someone just have 1? They have done this so many hundreds or tens of thousands of times. It's always boiled down to there's always 2 of the 6 pieces. So now we're talking about the galvanizer. The galvanizer is you and I again. I'm a green on ideate, inventor, and on galvanizing, where I love to get on stage and be like, hey team, there's where we're going. We can do it.
Go.
We sell to groups, we sell to people. We say, listen, this is what we're about because we're naturally passionate and love to be able to get everyone going. Now we're the last 2. So if you think about it like this, the first 2 were high level idea creation. The middle 2 are the vetting of the idea and the rallying behind the idea. The last 2 is where the rubber meets the road and the job gets done. Yes. It starts with, they use a term I hate called enabler. I think of enablement as a negative thing, but they don't use that. Right. It's working. This is someone who enables another human being to be successful. Think of this as a coach. Someone who's like a direct report, like a clinical director who will sit down with that PT and be like, who's just magical. Like they just seem to get the PT skill set in. They're just good at training. They're good at like one-on-one interactions versus one-to-many like you and me. And then there's that last person called tenacity. Tenacity, if they have a good idea and they're bought in, and they have a good enabler to support them, and you're like, let's just say, like for an example, they're going from A to B, they will make that happen come hell or high water. They will move mountains. They are just so good at getting it done in a way that no one else can do. So we all have 2 greens, 2 yellows, 2 reds. The test takes 10 minutes, has transformed my businesses. I have coached one of my partners, Michelle Bambanek. She coaches companies on this concept. She's certified in the 6 Working Geniuses. And outside of healthcare, this is taking on a whole new world for companies across the world. It is such a cool concept because it's not about my thinker or feeler. It's like, hey, this is where I get energy. This is where I don't. Who on our team? We need a green in all of these capabilities. So that's how you solve these things as we grow.
I am not going to knock this boss, but I had a boss who would probably look at this in the past and he would probably say, this is crap.
Totally get it.
But I remember I was working for a large healthcare company and he sat me down and he's like, Jimmy, we need you to get better at spreadsheets. And I was like, okay. He's like, if you ever want to be VP of communications here, you need to be better at paperwork and spreadsheets. And I was like, okay. Can I ask a question though? And he's like, sure. And I said, the spreadsheet people, are they getting better at like talking and giving presentations and doing videos and podcasts? And he's like, absolutely not. And I was like, does that seem fair? Like, and not even like fair, like Jimmy needs to do extra work, but like, why don't we let them be really good at that and me be really good at this? And then we're both happy. And also you're happy because you're getting the most done. Like if you give me a spreadsheet, like I'm like, he doesn't like me because this is the worst thing on the planet. But the funny thing is, if you put spreadsheet people in front of a camera, sometimes, I'm generalizing, they're like, I'm stressed out. I don't want to do it. Why are you asking me to do this? And I get that. And I remember like during this conversation, he was like, no, you have to understand spreadsheets rule the world. And I'm like, I shouldn't work with you. I'm out. We're on the wrong team.
I love that story because it's so paralleled into a clinical setting that we see all the time. This was a big mistake I made as a leader, is that if you're an owner and you own an outpatient clinic, right, your inclination is to take your best employee and promote them, which makes sense. But the problem is usually at a clinical level, our best employee is a tenacity. That's someone who's like really good at patient care. They may or may not have a skill set in enablement, which is more of a director skill. So what I love about this versus like your Myers-Briggs, and I get why people poo-poo these things because there's been so many, the disc, and by the way, they're all great. And a lot of great companies use them. That's why I try to separate this out from other things because it's less about like the person and more about the organization. And I put this through my family and it totally like healed relationships. And like when we're looking to hire now, I don't hire anyone. Listen, in the last 3 years, I've hired over 200 people across my company. When I put this test into place, our retention skyrocketed because I knew what the tasks were for the job, and I knew the mindset, especially for leadership. If I've got a leader who's going to be leading a group of people, they better be galvanizers.
Yeah. So do you give the test before someone when they apply?
Someone unless I don't work with somebody unless I know what their geniuses are. This isn't a personality test. This is what can I count on you for, and what can I not, just in work. Outside of work, I don't care if you're a feeler thinker. I don't care about that crap.
This is also, like you said, retention, because they can't wait to get to work because all they're doing is green stuff.
They're feeding their souls.
Yeah. They're like, I will come to work early. Why? I'll stay away because I'm doing green stuff. And by the way, when we're all doing our own green stuff, because my green is different than someone else's green, the job gets done. And we love it.
Well, and if you ask me, so tenacity is one of my reds. If you ask me to go through and get the job done on a front-facing level, let's say that spreadsheet example came up, I hate it. Like I can't even put words in my mouth. I hate it so much. I like spreadsheets. I don't like building out.
No, I don't. Yeah.
It's like solving like just the detail work of that kind of stuff. And by the way, that doesn't mean I'm better or worse.
No, it doesn't. It's not
we all need each other equally. But like if you have a tenacity enabler, that's usually not the person you want directing your clinic. You want at least an enabler, probably a galvanizer. So oftentimes it's really interesting because I've seen high-level multi-million, there's one company I was consulting that is the third largest pest control company in the country. They make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And they were making decisions that were just so confusing to them. Why? It's like whenever you ever, as an owner or a leader go, why is this not working? They put this into place and it's like, it's because it's so simple. It's because they're not meant to do X, Y, or Z. And then they change their vetting process and everything has exponentially climbed. So it's a powerful concept.
Well, that's the cool thing is it's a concept. It's a lens that you can run things through so you can stop and you all have a central language. Like, hang on a second. Why isn't this working? Like, okay, well, who's the who?
Yes.
Do we have the right people? Oh, this person's not a this. They're a this. Got it. Found the problem. Now fix it and get it done.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's amazing too, because when people learn this about themselves, it unlocks other aspects of their life. So they're at work. Oh my gosh, I'm a enabler or whatever, like whatever my greens are. Let's say it's me. It's an ideation guy and a galvanizer. My wife and I, it actually increased our relationship and decreased our arguments because when she's a discerner and she's tenacity. See, to me, to give something for someone to do at home would feel weird. But when she's wanting to support me, she's like, just tell me what you need.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you could really do to help me would be to help me like do these 4 things. And then she gets them done and she gets energy and she's like, what else do you need? And I'm like, you have no idea what that meant to me. And so in return, she gets stuck all the time, like in certain areas, and I'll come up with ideas. And she's like, well, those 3 are crap, but those other 3 were really helpful. Thank you, Will. So like just having this knowledge base about where we feed our energy helps us in any group, whether it's a work
Sure.
group, a family unit, a church group, whatever we do.
Sure.
It's so important to know where people get their energy. So when we're looking at a project, we know who should be in charge of what. And it just gets done 10 times better, Jimmy. It's awesome.
Yeah. Better, faster, more efficient.
All the things. Yeah.
Happier, all the things. All right. So you're leveraging this, or part of this concept, I imagine, when you're building Virtual Rockstar.
Yes.
I don't want to skip over an easy thing because I think a virtual assistant is a relatively new concept. And for some people listening, this might be the first time someone's actually explained it. Yeah. I understand what both of those words mean, virtual and assistant, but lay it down for people. Don't feel like you're going to go too basic. Go basic. What is it? And then what will it allow people to do, ... And that will lead to helping 4,444 people in the Philippines. So start with the super basic.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say about what it is before we go granular is that it is the second fastest growing trend in healthcare next to AI.
Huge.
It is projected across the next 10 years that virtual assistants, and I'll explain what that is, are meant to offload healthcare costs and dramatically improve, not laterally, improve the patient care experience. So what is it? Especially in the physical therapy, OT, SLP space, what is it? So it's any non-clinical role within a business can be supported and possibly run by someone overseas. And there's a lot of initial concerns people have about that, but let me go really granular. My clients range from people who have just one person who's like a personal assistant who goes through and totally cleans up their emails, taking them from 3 hours to 30 minutes a day, and running their personal calendar and all those things, all the way to clients who have 6 locations, who have over 20 virtual assistants. When you walk into a clinic, there's a monitor there. They interact with one of my team members, but they're mine in all the ways you don't want an employee, because I own the relationship, I own the liability, all those things. But they are my clients' employees in all the ways that you would want an employee. They wear the company's shirt, they report to you, all those things. And so when in those companies, those larger ones who are really, that particular client saves $250,000 a year of pure profits. And he says the customer service has improved to where his percentage of arrival has increased, because this is life-changing money, Jimmy. When someone picks up the phone, when you walk in, it's a screen. You worry about especially older patients in rural communities being like, what? But like, first of all of them have perfect English. And I have a whole guarantee around that. So when they walk in and there's someone whose life is being pulled out of poverty because of that job.
Wow.
When that screen turns on, how do you think they show up?
They are ready to go.
Jimmy, they are like, oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. It's so good to see you again. How's life treating you today? Anyway, they're just so passionate that it makes up for any of the perceived loss.
Right.
But that's not the thing I'm trying to pitch here. It's just the possibility of all of my clients, almost all of my clients, start with a non-patient facing role like insurance verification, medical billing authorization. And that's really where this started. I was finding people overseas for my billing company. I thought I'd never hire overseas because that's the kiss of death for billing companies, is that they outsource overseas, right?
Right.
But I realized it's not the people, it's the companies that just are trying to do this mass profit thing. So recruiting is my favorite skill that I love. So I said, well, let's just set it up for my own companies. And after hiring over 50 people directly, people started asking me to do it. And I was like, no, I'm too busy. I've got 3 other companies. And they said, please, we'll pay you. And I said, what was that?
Yeah, I like money. Big fan.
Yeah, well, it's more the idea that people were desperate for that support to the point where no one's ever asked me. And so I piloted it. And literally people who coached with me, who were in my billing company, said, Will, this is the best thing you've ever done for us, because you're out there and you just find these amazing people. I just bring them in and they say their favorite thing isn't the money savings. It's the fact that all of their American employees work harder when these Filipinos show up, and they are like so bent on doing the best job possible. And they every day, thank you for today's or anything else that you need from me before I go.
Right.
So that's what it is. So we have all sorts of here's how people get rolling with us. If they're like even a little bit curious, we get on a discovery call. We find out if their situation is appropriate for a VA. Not everyone is. And we're really big on not selling it if it's not a fit.
No, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. We're trying to bring people out of poverty, not create confusion. And when we get someone on the call, if we find a good fit, we'll usually find the first hire to make it really easy for them. And once they learn how to work with a virtual assistant, and we give them all the tools they need to learn that, and we give them support. Once they learn, that's our fastest growing client. The way we're growing is someone who has one VA who goes to like 5. Like
Right.
they just immediately they start, every time that front desk quits, they're like, oh, no worries, I'll call Virtual Rockstar. And within, we can get someone in there in less than 5 days, just 5 business days, just super fast.
The big opportunities are where the biggest fear is, right? Well, there's probably a lot of, I probably have to, there's so much onboarding and that's where Will comes in, is like, right, I figured it out. I'm going to take that where you are and where you want to go. I have the bridge. It's smooth. It's flat. I've done it before. Relax. All right, real talk for a second. If you're a physical therapist or running a clinic, you already wear like 50 hats a day. Clinician, manager, scheduler, part-time tech support. I see you. But what if you had a sidekick that could help you do all of that? Something smarter. That's where Empower EMR by MW Therapy comes in. It's built just for physical therapists, and it's loaded with smart automations and AI that help you grow your practice without burning out. No more chasing paper trails or fighting outdated systems. This thing handles billing, scheduling, documentation, patient engagement, all in one clean, customizable platform. The best part? It's actually affordable and scales as you grow. Clinics everywhere are loving it, and if you're ready to take the stress off your plate and be the hero of your practice again, check out a free demo at mwtherapy.com.
Yeah, it's so true. And again, I think I was so surprised that we've grown so fast. We literally, in the last year and a half, we brought on over 100 practices across the country, and we're now rapidly expanding outside of physical therapy. We have orthopedic surgeons, we have dental offices. I'm hyper-focused just in outpatient care, but I'll take, if someone's an inpatient environment, I can help. Like our bread and butter is specifically physical therapy, outpatient clinics. We can do so much with that space. And so, yeah, it's been great because the Filipinos will cry when they get the job. You know, we're years into this business now, and we have a 98% retention. Very few people leave, not just the virtual assistants, but the companies, very few leave. And to me, I call it like this: not since becoming a PT have I done something that has touched my life this way.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And here's the biggest thing I'll end on just the virtual assistant thing, is that we decided when we started this company, we were going to flip the script on how these companies operate. Because usually they're going and getting people in the Philippines for $1 to $3 an hour, and then they're charging 8 to 10. We are paying our Filipinos between $7 and $10 an hour, and our charge is 12. Like we run 15 to 20% margins. I'm very transparent because anytime I can give back to the Filipino, I can. So when we hire, this is truly life-changing money for them. The average Filipino makes in the Philippines less than $1 per hour on average.
So when you walk in with 12s, they lose their mind.
Yeah, they actually have a life. 95% of our employees are single mothers who have lots of family support to support their kids, who work your hours when you want them to, who show up and cry because they can still be there in the morning to send their kids off to school. And then they sleep while their kids are at school. And then they take their kids back and are with them and tuck them into bed. And then they go to work. Wow. And when they go to work, the relationship with the employers and the employees is some of the most touching things I've seen. It's akin to like being a mentor. It's just beautiful.
Wow. So where are you on the journey to 4,444? Like ballpark it.
We're about 200 virtual assistants in right now.
So I mean, 4,440. But is there a special? Is quad fours? Is there something special there that I'm not seeing? Is there?
Yeah, I wanted to make I wanted to do something big. I've been wanting to do something big for a long time. Number. What's that?
It's not a small number. It's a large number.
No, I wanted to make a dink in the world the way that Apple does. I wanted to do something that was so significant, but I wanted to be in healthcare. Jimmy, here's the actual vision. The reason that's so important is that 4,444 virtual assistants will mean that I have around 1,000 to 2,000 entrepreneurs working with me. If I have 1,000 to 2,000 entrepreneurs working with me, I want to take that group and start to take, with all that money and freedom that they have, I want to start changing healthcare. I want to start creating a movement. I'm trying to do it now, but again, we're so limited with where we are. I want to grow. That's the whole point of Virtual Rockstar, is to take them out of poverty, free up these entrepreneurs with time and money.
Right.
And together figure out how we are going to change regulations, fight insurance companies, because at that point we'll have enough time and money to do so.
So what are some of the things? Talk about the outcome. If you're an owner who is like, and then you're like, okay, I'll try it. Now what do they do with their time and money?
What do you mean? Like what they're doing now with it? Oh, what do they do when they have extra time and money?
Are they hiring more clinicians? Are they opening more locations? Are they just, we're just paying people more? Like, what do they get to do now that they're like, oh shoot, the downstream is like more money, more time. What are they doing with it?
It's so funny, Jimmy. I've actually had so many times people who are like, who ask me that. What am I supposed to do now?
What am I supposed to do?
Like, I've got all this time on my hands and we're making more money than we've made. What am I supposed to do with my time? And I just laugh because it sounds like I'm lying. Like, but literally I've answered this question dozens and dozens of times. The short answer is depends on your vision.
Sure.
But an easy answer is to be the leader you were born to be by, and that's not just an inspirational thing. We don't even know when we're so busy in our businesses that our job is to hold the culture and the vision of the company. So when we have time on our hands and we're feeling like we're taking care of our bodies and ourselves, and we're finally taking care of our families in a way where we're not spreading ourselves so thin that we're just passing out over and over again at night, that we actually have time to breathe, then it's like, use that time to dream and envision the future and to build what is meant to be built. And if you don't know what that is, then join me and you, Jimmy, on making a movement in the physical therapy space and fight insurance companies. That's the whole thing, is if people don't know what to do, that's the thing I'm building with their time and money, is a purpose. But for some people, I've had people literally tell me that they just became really involved in coaching their kids' football teams. I've had other people tell me that they've taken up hobbies. Other people travel the world. I try to get all of my clients to take a month off every year and travel the world if that speaks.
Wow.
Because I know it sounds like, that's like wasteful. It's not. People come back from those months with the most. Look, physical therapy owners in particular are the best people on the planet. They're so full of like charity. You give them some time to breathe and some money, they're going to come back with some life-changing ideas,
energy. Well, they make it mandatory in Europe.
Like, they make it mandatory.
They make you leave. Do not come to work. They do it in a lot of places in academics, right? Where they give the option sabbatical, right?
Yeah.
Because they understand, they've researched it. When they come back, when that person comes back, they're actually more than.
Yes.
So just grinding people like old brake pads does not actually get the most out of that person. I know
our American culture is so bad. In physical therapy, we get it the worst. When I sold my practice, I will never forget one of my coaches saying, hey, listen, that is probably the hardest industry I've ever coached in. And this was a guy who's been in every industry. Wow. And it's true. So if you're listening to this and you're a leader or an owner and you're even somewhat profitable, you are way better and more powerful as a leader than you can imagine. Because I will tell you, as someone who sold his practice and started 4 others, every other company I've started is exponentially easier. It's just, it's a grind. And that's why I want to give back. It's like, hey, I believe that I'm a product of fortune and blessings from heaven, literally. I am not that smart organically. I just believe if I had that opportunity, my job is to make sure everyone else can get freed up.
So, okay, hit me with just more like things that you wouldn't expect a virtual assistant to be able to handle.
Yeah.
What are, like, number one, the front desk on a screen, I was like, wow, I think I'm pretty forward thinking. I don't know that I would have been bold enough to say, yeah, we're going to do that.
10 years ago in my practice, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah. It wasn't there yet.
Yeah, no, it is literally by the end of this decade, everyone's going to have a screen at the front, and it will either be AI or it will be a virtual assistant.
Right.
100%. I know that sounds insane. It's like, because, again, I was in a rural Republican community in Arizona, and there was like older people. Like, there's no way. It's the whole self-checkout aisle of the grocery store. None of us thought we'd ever prefer that, but it's the studies and the trends are so past. Like, here's what's funny. Outside of healthcare, this is so far down the road. Every time I go to a business conference that's not healthcare, everyone already has it as a virtual assistant. So the things that would shock you in the operation of a business, bookkeeping, people have all their books run by VAs.
Sure.
They have all of their payroll being run by VAs. They have anything administrative. The bigger shocker, I think, that people don't realize is like the whole personal assistant, because for a virtual assistant to run your money, your email, and your calendar, seems like you would never do that with someone overseas. That seems like a big distrust. And that's why we have some guarantees in our company to prevent that. But it's one of those things where giving your life to a VA, literally your email, your calendar, I am not allowed to touch my calendar. She set this meeting up as me with you.
Right.
And I got debriefed on it over the weekend with an email like, hey, this is what you got coming up Monday. And so it's just been freeing in a way that's indescribable. But yeah, no, social media is a big one. I have a podcast as well. I've got a social media. It's the entire thing is being run by virtual assistants. I've got a team of people who are doing it in the Philippines that work just for me full time, and they are brilliant. I've got a full-time website developer I have on my team, a full-time videographer I have on my team. Once you get into it and you unlock what it's, because it isn't hard, Jimmy, but it is a different muscle to work with an overseas employee. And that's what we specialize in helping people do.
Right. Well, I imagine you're sitting around going like, yes, and like, well, hold on a second. If we can do this, why couldn't we do this and this? And you're like, we can. Okay, great. Let's test it out.
Yeah, it feeds on itself. Like you take a little extra work to work with your first virtual assistant. We help you define the best role. If you're not sure what that looks like, we have like a menu of skills that you pick and we find the best person. And then what we're the best at is finding those people. So once you get that person and they're on your team, all of a sudden you've learned how to do it. And now you've got some more time and a little extra money. So then you go, okay,
what else can I be doing?
What else can I do? And then that's how it grows. Do you know who Alex Hormozi is, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
So I was with him last weekend.
You're hanging out with, did he wear the nasal strip?
The whole time.
He's always wearing that breathing thing.
The whole time. And it was powerful because I got a chance to coach with him for a while and one-on-one. And he was just like, yeah, man, this is the future for healthcare. He's like in our team alone, we have them doing cold outreach. He just went through the vision of what he's been building on with the virtual assistant space for a while now. So yeah, it's pretty weird.
If someone's 36 minutes into this podcast and they're like, fine, what do I do?
Yeah.
What's the baby step? Because of course, even if they want to take one step forward before they leap into the complete deep end and go, completely in there, what do you suggest people do? Do they go take a look at your website? What's step one?
Go to virtualrockstar.com. Virtualrockstar.com. Go to the bottom. There's two things. Number one, you can get all sorts of information there on that. You can learn about our industry events. We just had our first full-time big industry event March 1st. We specialize in that stuff. At the bottom of the first page, there's a calendar you can jump on to talk to Tony Williams. And here's the thing. You don't have to even, if you just want to find out if it's for you, this is a good chance for you to discover what it is. Because literally 99% of the people who first reach out are like, I don't know if this is a fit for me.
Yeah.
It's like they don't know. So we don't have people, this is another thing, Jimmy. No one signs any agreements with me until after we have already found the virtual assistant. And the reason I do that, and it's so backwards in my industry, they sign this and then we'll go find you somebody. I'm like, no, I'm going to put the risk on me. If we can't introduce you to someone that you immediately fall in love with, like an A player, then don't sign up with me. I don't care. Right. I'd rather make it like Alex Hormozi says, make an offer so good that people feel
can't refuse.
They know. Yeah. So yeah, that's how they'd find out. Go to the website, learn about it, go down, click on a discovery call. You can message me directly if you want. Will at virtualrockstar.com. Most of the information will probably be my VA that you get back, but she will. But if you're really needing help, she'll mark it and I'll call you. If it's
got it.
That looks like.
We're going to try to turn this episode around quick because you're going to Florida pretty soon.
Yes, I am so excited, Jimmy, because at the end of in 2 weeks, I'm going to the P3 PT Millionaire Conference. This is a powerful conference that is so much more than recruiting. It's all about money and how we can not just recruit great people, but build them, retain them. How can we be more profitable? We have some of the biggest names in the industry going. I know we wanted to get you there, but you already had plans. It was so funny because when we were talking as a group, they're like, well, Jimmy, of course, is already doing 8 other things. But we've got Jacob from Comprehend Health, and we've got the ptbilling.com team there to help us with all things financial. These guys are also powerful leaders. We have rehab CEOs, two amazing guys who are making phenomenal waves in the industry, just breaking down the barriers for people, just incredible guys.
Who should come? Who, if someone was going to come to this, who's the ideal person? What are they stressed with? What do they want to solve for that to be in that room for 2 days?
Yeah, look, guys, I'll tell you right now, the way I got to where I was to here was through coaching and conferences and books. That there's only those 3 things. Books now, I would say podcasts and books. So you're on the right path by doing this right now and listening to this. But conferences, there's not enough in our industry. I try to go to one every quarter now and have for years. This is for people who are PT leaders and owners who are feeling pressure from not getting reimbursed enough, who are just like getting so frustrated in their business because they don't have the flexibility to put the time and attention on recruiting. If you want the tips and tricks that are going to accelerate you, I was at Alex Hormozi's thing last weekend. Like that's literally,
Sure.
This is how you do it. And here's what's powerful. You're going to become friends with all of the CEOs of all these companies. We're going to talk. We're going to help you wherever we can. You might decide some of those services are for you. I don't care. Don't sign up for anything. The relationship is what matters most, because who we are in 5 years is a matter of who we are, who we know, and what we read,
Right
and
now.
or listen to. So
Right now.
go get to know some of the most important people in our industry and go learn like 3 or 4 things that you'll take back and immediately break free of some degree of your limitations.
You're on YouTube for your podcast, Will Power Podcast, wherever podcasts are heard. Before we do parting shots, just like, what have you gotten out of being this weird thing podcast host, which wasn't a thing a couple of years ago? Now it's like a thing.
Yeah, it has totally changed my life. I know it sounds, everything does, by the way, but this
has it though? Because I feel like you were a podcast host before podcasts. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you were you. There weren't podcasts. Now there are. You're like, oh, I'll put it through a microphone.
Well, I've done YouTube. I have a YouTube channel with hundreds of subscribers, and so it's not that big. But it's one of those things where I've been doing YouTube videos since 2020 and slowly growing that channel. But the reason I didn't do a podcast was because I actually don't have an attention span for podcasts. It's really hard for me to listen to them. So I finally had a coach 3 years ago go, you're a moron. Podcasts are vital just because you're one of the few people that aren't able to focus on those. Most people, it's a huge way to help people. And in that time frame, I mean, I love that I've built an audience. I love that I get to serve the industry. I've changed. The podcast is now going to be, the whole purpose is to free you up. I have my first season coming out, my second season coming out over the summer, where all we're focusing on is helping provide resources to free people's time up. That's it.
Smart.
But the main thing I've gotten out of it is, for me, the more people I know, the smarter I become. And that has been so great because, man, I am a work in progress and I can get all the help I can. So getting all these genius personalities teaching me everything that I can possibly think of to help be a better leader has made me a better father, a better husband. And I've gotten business out of it. Lots of people will come up on the show, get to know me and be like, virtual assistants, tell me about that. And then they turn into clients.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, Oprah said it. People want to be seen, heard, and understood. Simon Sinek was like, people want to know you, then they'll know you, then they'll like you, then and only then might they trust you. And we do business. We hang out socially with people we trust. And seeing someone sign on the side of the road is different. Have you ever heard of 7-Eleven-4?
No.
7-Eleven-4, I forget who. I'm not giving credit to them. I just can't remember who they are. As my ring light went out. There we go. 7-Eleven-4 is a concept that says someone has to spend 7 hours with you over 11 instances, 4 different ways before they'll begin to trust you. So it's like 7 hours is a lot, but it could be like a billion 10-minute interactions. Like Reels has been a great way, short form content. You're like 7 hours of Reels. I look at some of my Reels, the length of time when you multiply small views over a lot, small time over a lot of views, people are watching, and that can be words, pictures, hearing from other people about you or something that you taught them. It adds up. And if you can get to 7-Eleven-4, 7 hours, 11 different instances, at least 4 different ways. And those ways could be in person. I mean, you could get a lot in person, right? Someone watches you for an hour on stage, hangs with you at the bar for 2 hours. Over the next few months, they read a book, they watch a podcast or 5, or listen. Like that gets to 7 quickly. All these things add up. Clinicians. Oh, YouTube's too big. I don't need it in my local community. Second largest search engine on the planet. People are YouTubing, people looking at your Google business profile, but looking at your channels now without even thinking about this. So if you want to be the PT of choice in your community, this is not just for people who want to be an international or national brand. This is for pretty much any industry.
Yeah. And Jimmy, first of all, I didn't know that first part. I love that you taught me that. Another example of growing off of someone else's knowledge base. The whole social media thing that you just went into, that is what I coach now. It's a heavy part of what I coach now for recruiting.
Big
PT,
time.
99% of PT companies are out there just putting ads out, doing nothing else. And they think, well, I don't know social media. I don't like social media. That's the fastest growing virtual assistant that I'm hiring for,
I
is
bet.
someone to actually go in there and just post every day for you.
I
And it
bet.
doesn't have to be magic because no one else is doing anything. You just have to
Right.
be
The bar's
consistent.
low. The bar's low. Yeah. How do you think, like, everybody's like, well, your radio background made your podcast successful. I was like, I think my radio background made me personally feel safe to start, but the success came from 1,700 episodes. That's where, I mean, I hate to break to you.
You are intimidating if you're like when I was starting my PT podcast, I was thinking about you as the standard. I couldn't think about it because you are so naturally good at those things that it's like, oh crap, if I think in my mind I have to be Jimmy McKay to start a podcast, I don't think I ever would have done it.
But you can't be Jimmy McKay, but nobody could be Will. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be like, I thank you for that, but like,
yeah, that's the whole point, is that everyone's voice matters. And some people have an organic talent like Jimmy does. And like repetition is king. Again, the consistency for everyone listening is like, it sounds like you're really promoting people to start their own podcast, which I would agree.
Although, like you, I tried to talk most people out of starting it, unless it was right. Because what I didn't want them to do was go through all the work and then get to episode 6 and be like, I don't like it. So the first time, like, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, why? And they're like, money. And I'm like, wrong answer. Or like, fame. And I'm like, hate to break it to you, also wrong answer. But if they're like, I have so much to say and I don't know where to put it, right answer. Let me show you how. Or I really just, my
impact.
Like my professional organization does great work, but I feel like I have something to add. I'm like, great, that's right answer. So it's almost like I fight clubbed them. I'm like, if you're telling me like just because you showed up doesn't mean I'm going to sell you something. I'm like, I'm sorry, because I don't want to. Because over time, people would go, podcasting didn't work. I tried it. I'm like, but you went in with the wrong reason. Yeah. It's like saying PT doesn't work. What was the outcome? My wife made me go. Well, of course you were going to be successful because you didn't want to go there. You didn't understand the outcome.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful because, like, again, I believe that I thought, like, when I started my podcast, I thought, like, oh, I've missed the boat. Dude, it is like the studies on this is like, oh no, it's becoming so much more of an industry than they ever could have predicted. This is it's not early adapter like you, but I give you so much credit for is the courage to start this when it wasn't as known to be such a student thing. You were a student?
I was a second-year PT student. I could not wait to tell you all the things I had no idea about. That's why I was like, I can't wait to tell you how dumb I am about this. But hey, I've got this guy on my show, and in 20 minutes, we're both gonna know stuff. And I think I was sort of just
useful, yeah,
honest and useful. Yeah. Relatable. Obama has a great quote when he was asked in front of somebody, to a bunch of college students. He said he was being asked like, what should they become? Like, what should they be? And the person asking the question wanted him to give like a job, like go be a coder, go be a whatever. But of course, public speakers who are good at twisting. And he goes, be useful. You're always going to have a job if you're like, well, what can I do here? Like look around the room, like my grandmother always said, when you go to someone's house, knock with your elbows, meaning bring a gift, like always be able to knock on the door with your elbows. But like take that knock with your elbows idea and what could you put it into? Which is like, how could I be useful here? I don't know anything about coding, but like, what could I do here? Like, hey, and that starts with asking questions.
Ooh.
What's your biggest problem? And like, what's your next biggest problem? What's your 20th biggest problem? Oh, I can help with that. Great. Start with that.
See, it's okay. My gosh, I know we're getting close out of time, but you said something that was so big for a recruiting emphasis. I just want to hit it, Jimmy, is that so many times when I used to do private coaching for recruiting, and I've helped over 100 companies across the country, the biggest thing I had to turn around was that they're like, what do I need to do to hire? I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so far away. Because like when we were able to show them that recruiting was really about service, and how like what they should do is find out from their ideal hires what their pain points are, or the right questions is what you said, like what is it that bothers you, and then from there, what's so shocking is most of the people I've worked with in the physical therapy space in particular, they're so powerful, but they are so blind to their amazing power.
Right.
That's the main reason why I don't think they start podcasts. So my thought is like, yeah, if they think that they could actually serve people, whether it's patients or the next generation of PTs, and if they want to even, but they don't know how, just go ask questions like you said, and then build solutions. Now, the easiest solution, not the easiest, I should say, but the most obvious solution would be like social media and podcasting. Because it's like, if they could establish a podcast, let's say that student debt is something that most PTs are freaking out about, and you believe that you could, even if you don't know the answer, but you want to help that answer, you start a podcast. By the way, I'm giving away something right now that if someone did this,
steal it.
They would never, ever have to worry about recruiting again. Start a podcast about helping students solve their financial concerns. It will go to every student organically. Everyone who listens to it's going to want to work with you because they'll spend the 7 hours that Jimmy just taught me about.
Yep.
And then they'll work for you and love you, and they'll come on already bought in versus trying you out like a pair of pants for the first year. We all know how that feels when people quit.
Correct.
So, I just think that what you said there was so brilliant. I just wanted to punch it.
Well, thank you. I always love when people point out my brilliance, which is rare.
Me too.
Last thing we do on an episode is called the parting shot.
That's right.
So, Will, what's your parting shot? What's your mic drop moment? The thing you want to leave with the audience today?
Yeah, the most important leader in any room is the person who loves the most. The most influential, powerful leader loves the most. What does that look like? Love looks like service. When I walked in to Alex Hormozi with his tens of millions of subscribers and everyone was stargazed by what he was, when he got off stage at the end of the second day, his wife, Layla, who's a little bit of a celebrity, but not much comparatively, she's the actual CEO of his multi-$100 million company. She got on stage and you could feel it. The leadership. She jumped on stage and she, the answers, the way she answered it was so lovingly. She served people so openly. That was like a magnet. You just were drawn to her and you'd want to follow her. So my parting shot is that if you're stuck, ask yourself, what does love look like? What does service look like in this problem? It will shift the mindset and the solutions will come.
Yeah, magically, that stuff it starts to appear. Will, have fun in Florida. We'll share the link to that, and then Willpower Podcast. And let's do something, I don't know, something soon. I'll talk to your people.
I have a feeling that we are going to be crossing lots of paths based on our discussion.
Fingers crossed. Will Humphreys, appreciate you coming down on the show again, Will.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Let's be real. You didn't become a therapist to be average. You've got something in you that wants more mastery, more impact, more confidence in the clinic. That's exactly what Brooks Institute of Higher Learning delivers. Their residency and fellowship programs aren't just resume builders, they're transformation zones. You get one-on-one mentoring, deep dive classwork, labs, and real-time experience inside one of the most advanced rehab systems in the country. And the best part? You're not grinding this out on the side. You get a full salary and benefits while you train with the best. Whether it's ortho, neuro, peds, geriatrics, women's health, Brooks IHL helps you become the expert you know you're meant to be. Check out brooksihl.org to learn more and take that next step.